Hey everyone, this is Geeky Vices with J-Belle, where I talk about the latest bits of geekdom and pop culture that I've been into lately. And this is not always about what's the latest and greatest. In fact, I describe the show as unedited, unrehearsed, and unhip. And to forewarn people, if you don't want any spoilers whatsoever, I would watch this until after you enjoy my topic of the week. I try being spoiler light, but you never know. So you're forewarned. Anyways, this week I'm going to talk about the fact that I saw the latest Marvel movie that came out, Captain Marvel. So, yay! Now, first of all, my background with my knowledge of Captain Marvel is prior to this is pretty minimal. My only exposure to her was the fact that in the 90s X-Men cartoons, there's an episode where they explain where most of Rogue's powers, such as the strength and flight, and I think some level of energy absorption, although Rogue could absorb powers anyways, but a lot of that she stole from Captain Marvel. That is if I'm remembering correctly, but I'm pretty sure it was Captain Marvel. And then the other thing is that I never finished Earth's Mightiest Heroes, The Avengers. Like, I've only seen the first season and a bit. I need to finish that series because it's great. Has probably one of the best as far as like animated, like well, at least Marvel, and like DC had some pretty good theme songs, but as far as Marvel theme songs, they had really good theme song. But yeah, I definitely highly recommend that series. But yeah, I saw a little bit of her in that. So those are my only bits of prior knowledge to her. And I knew she was involved with the Kree and the Skrull, but honestly, I have a hard time keeping those two apart. Although now after the movie, I should hopefully have a little bit easier of a time. But anyways, my overall impression is that I am one of those people who I have been keeping up with all the Marvel movies. I own most of them. I don't own all of them. There are a couple that I've skipped mine for myself. Like, I don't own the first two Thor movies. I don't own I know I don't own the third Iron Man. I don't think I own the second one. I don't own Ant-Man and the Wasp. So yeah, there's a few of them, and those are ones although I might get Ant-Man and the Wasp, but yeah, those are, and if I don't have Iron Man 2, that one I might get, but yeah, there's certain ones where I'm just like, eh. And of course I don't have the Hulk ones, because those don't count. If it's not Mark Ruffalo, it doesn't count. But anyways, so yeah, that's it. I've been keeping up with this stuff, and I am not a comic book person. I'm more of a cartoon series person from my childhood, so I have moderate familiarity with all these characters and such. But anyways, my overall impression is that the movie was entertaining. It was fine. I would say it's not the strongest of the Marvel movies. I don't plan on buying it, but it's entertaining, and I think it's, if you're like me, where you're trying to keep up with all of them, it's worth it in that regard. Honestly, the best parts of it are Goose, the cat, who, spoiler, is actually a flurkin, which, if you don't know what that is, you'll find out in the movie. Nick Fury, this was the best Samuel Jackson's always amazing, but this is the best Nick Fury's been in any of the movies, because he was like, I think he wasn't quite as hardened yet, so it was more lighthearted and comedic, and he was actually usually the comedic relief. So those are the main reasons to see it, and then also to see the stuff that's leading up to the next Marvel movie, because the next Infinity Wars is coming out soon. Give me one sec. Sorry, really itchy ear. But yeah, I think that, I know Brie Larsen's been getting a lot of flack. Honestly, I think Disney and Marvel should have vetted her a little bit more for giving her this big of a role, to make sure she knew how to have an appropriate PR persona. This is not to be sexist, but it's just like, I just remember Gamergate, and just like, it's always been tougher for women when it comes to comic books. Comic books and video games are weirdly the elements of geekdom where, like, it seems like it's harder for women to be treated as fairly, which sucks because there's plenty of people like me who have been geeks all their lives, and it's like we're not doing it to be cool. It's just it's what we like, and it's just as valid as any of the guys liking it. But I feel like she could have tried. She could have tried being more tactful with her comments. Because I mean, think about how like people love Gal Gadot, unless you're certain Muslim countries who hate her just because she's Israeli. But like she's been a really good, strong figure and has been empowering and such. Like she's been doing really well. Like as far as being like icon, like you're like, okay, I'm this badass superhero character, and I'm also a cool role model in real life. And like you don't hear people complaining about Scarlett Johansson in that regard. It's like because I think she knows how to have an appropriate public image, like realizing that she is in public. And I think Brie Larsen, I think she's not used to being this big a celebrity. I mean, I haven't really seen her in that many things. I think she was the daughter in the United States of Terror, but like honestly, like it's one of those actresses where like I think I've seen her in things and I recognize the name, but it's like it's hard for me to pinpoint what she's been in. But I think that's the main thing I've seen her in. But yeah, so anyways, ignoring that, I think she was fine with the acting, although I feel like the way they did the movie, I feel like they were trying to be a little bit too artsy and different for the way they introduce these things. Because I tend to like my storylines a little bit more linear. I don't tend to like. I have a harder times with some movies that like jump around in different timelines. Like a movie like Cloud Atlas, which is a beautiful, great movie, but sometimes like I just tend to like things a little bit more linear, so that way I can see like a little bit more of the cause and effect rather than jump around. Although, then again, on the flip side, I love Memento, and that one definitely jumps around. Although I sometimes want to watch that with all the scenes in order of chronological events. But it's still, even though like the timeline jumps around, like it's still the story itself is linear. It's not branching into a bunch of different directions. But I feel like because they're trying to do that, like I realize they're probably trying to make it just generic. Like this is how she becomes a hero. We didn't get to see the contrast of who she was before she got her powers and before she spent years with the Kree, and who she came afterwards. So I don't know how much of this is that's who she is innately. That's who Brie Larsen is, like the actress, rather than being the character Carol Danvers. Like I don't know, because it's like I could just picture being Brie Larsen being Brie Larsen. I mean, which is fine, because I mean, like honestly, like Robert Downey Jr. is basically being Robert Downey Jr. when he plays Tony Stark. It's like, and that's fine. Like there's no judgment on that, but I just like I don't know this character well enough to know if that's how she's supposed to be. So that's one of my main criticisms. I feel like it's not. It doesn't have as much comedic zip to it. I feel like it kind of didn't matter that it was in the 90s. I mean, they were doing some throwaway jokes, like there was a Blockbuster video, for instance, and they had to deal with like how slow the modem was, and I think they had. I know they had to deal with CD-ROMs. I don't remember if they dealt with floppy disks or not, but it's just like it was just like it didn't really matter that much that it was in the 90s, which. And it's also like it also didn't really clearly explain what her powers were. Because it's like, it's not, I mean, I realize, yeah, I don't necessarily understand what all Iron Man's actual abilities are, but like, at least I can kind of gauge, like, what he's likely to be able to do or not do. Versus her, I'm not really clear what the limits of what she can do are. And there is a lot of, I watch Nerdist News. Not religiously, but I do get in my news feed on Facebook, so I do sometimes watch the videos. I know that one of the big fan theories is that Captain Marvel is going to be how Tony Stark gets back because she can fly through space without breathing, and also the fact that like she got her powers from the Tesseract. Like it's believed that that's somehow going to be important for disabling the Infinity Stones and the Infinity Gauntlet. So we'll see, but I know a lot of people aren't too thrilled that like there's this newer character who's coming in to sweep in and save the day. Although I mean the same thing can be said about Ant-Man in some regards. Although Ant-Man at least has been more established, because like he was in Civil War. So Ant-Man and the Wasp came out like a good amount of time before and like building up to this. So yeah, it's not the strongest one. Like honestly, like I might rewatch it at some point, but it's mostly like I'm more likely to go to YouTube and rewatch like some of the highlights with Nick Fury and Goose and the stuff we get to Infinity War, Agent Coulson, like those type of things. Also, I felt like her best friend was really flat as a character. Like I want to see her not feel because like this should have been a really cool character, and like I just felt something about her was like flat and not too much depth to her and a little bit generic. The daughter had like great livelihood to her, but yeah. It's also, I feel like it was a little bit too heavy-handed. Like I felt like I was trying to be like, this is a feminist character. She's in the army. She's used to people, or I guess Air Force, and she's used to people telling her she can't do something, but she's gonna stick it to the guys and do it anyway. And like, I kind of wish it wasn't as heavy-handed. Like I honestly prefer when it's something like Black Widow, where it's like, you know what, she's a badass. It doesn't matter that she's a woman, you know, like she just is. Versus, I feel like this one's trying too hard. And that might be the biggest problem with the movie. Like, I feel like it's trying too hard, and it feels like it's filler. Which I admit, like, Ant-Man, I think, was a little bit of a filler movie. But I love Paul Rudd. I think it had enough charm and an interesting enough vibe of its own to carry itself. Versus, I feel like Captain Marvel, yeah, it's a little bit lackluster. Not to say it's a bad movie, but yeah, I'd say it's not a must-see unless your completionist as far as the Marvel movies. So that's my overall take on it. I will say I do think the way they treat this Kree and the Skrull interesting, because that whole war is very complicated, not black and white about who's the good, who's the bad. It's not like in the Superman world where it's like Apocalypse versus New Genesis. Apocalypse and Darkseid are obviously evil. It's like it's not like that. There's not like the clear cut like one side's the bad guys, one side's the good guys. It's like it's gray areas. It's war. There's different perspectives, and it's like, yeah. But there was a little bit of a twist, but yeah. As I said, I just wish I could have actually seen her character developed a little bit more strongly, especially since they also made a big deal about like how she's supposed to have like this humor, and I guess she's a little bit snarky, but like I don't find her particularly funny. I just feel like she's a little bit of a smart ass rather than her being humorous. So yeah, and as I said, I don't know if that's just because that's how Brie Larsen is, the actress, or if that's how the character of Carol Danvers, aka Veers, aka Captain Marvel, is supposed to be. So yeah, I'm gonna be interested in the other version of Captain Marvel. So I don't know that much comic book history, but I do know that it's really complicated. Like, I've seen a video of it where like it's this whole like branching tree thing, but basically Shazam was also a Captain Marvel's, and then like Captain Marvel and like the Marvel universe, I think, was Captain Marvel, but no one would call Shazam Captain Marvel because they would just call him Shazam, and they finally gave in and just made that his character's name. But yeah, I'm curious about that one, which is slightly off topic, because I think it looks like it should be fun, and it makes me more optimistic as far as a DC movie, especially since I never saw Aquaman. I probably will when it's on video, but I didn't care enough to see it in theaters. But I still am a little bit unsure about the casting, just because he seems like it's more so, okay, we casted some comedian rather than we casted some guy who is a superhero. You know, it's like I realize and I'm hoping they're not. I'm hoping they're gonna try being authentic with like the childlike innocent part of him, rather than just like trying to make it cheesy and heavy-handed. So we'll see. But yeah, that's my overall thoughts. All right, until next time. Hope you guys enjoyed. Continue enjoying your own geeky vices, and hopefully you guys are just getting built up for the Marvel movies as I am, because I'm really curious what's gonna happen after Endgame, especially since I'm going to be sad if a lot of those characters, if this is it. I know there's contracts and such involved, but it's like, I'm a little bit more okay with Iron Man if Robert Downey Jr. doesn't return, because he's been in so many of the Marvel movies already, but I'm not ready for Chris Evans to stop being Captain America. I'm not ready for Mark Ruffalo to stop being the Hulk, because he hasn't been that many. Like, I'm not ready for those characters to be done, you know? So, we'll see. But anyways, enjoy. Talk to you guys later. Until next time. Bye.